All right. Hi, everybody. Russian Pianist here. So, as I promised today, we have our guests in the video, Julian and Edward, and I'll pass the intro to them right now.
Perfect. So yeah, as we've kind of mentioned before, I'm an independent researcher. I've worked with both these two at threat intelligence level roles as well. And today we're just going to go through that chaotic interview. We'll see how that goes.
Yep. Thanks, Ed and Anna, for having me today. I'm Julian, I'm a senior threat intel researcher at Arctic Wolf. I've worked with these two back in it was like East Entire days in threat intelligence as well. So, bit of history.
Yeah, so we all both work on the same team together, and I used to call Julian as King Julian. Yep. So that's was a joke going around, and we'll throw a few jokes here and there, from our previous work, and explain the references too, right? So let's jump into the questions from Twitter community right now. I've noticed that we have some really interesting ones and some really funny ones, right? So Eddie, do you want to start with the first questions to start this video interview?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be pretty fitting to, I think everybody wants to know this, and we'll probably ask it a bunch, is how did you actually get started into cybersecurity? And then what led you to the CTI type of roles?
How I got started with cyber is actually, it wasn't intentional. I wanted to go to university for, I think it was some type of science for forest or something, some environmental thing. And I needed to do an extra credit to do that. That wasn't really an option. I didn't really want to do that. So I found a school program that offered cybersecurity. Ended up just taking that and kind of, enjoyed it, fell in love with it. So stuck with that.
I think we see actually a lot of people like that, where it's just kind of happened, right? Which brings a really diverse group of people into the same room talking about, cyber.
How long you been in the community, Julian? For now, in the cybersecurity community, intelligence field? Probably over
how long
5 years, right?
How long I've been employed, or how long I've actually been? Because I'm not too involved in community stuff like Twitter and all that. But I've been in the cyber industry for, I think, close to 7 years now.
7 years.
Okay. Yeah, coming up on 7 years now. So it's been a while.
So I guess with that being said, we'll jump to another easy question, then we'll go right into all the Twitter ones. What's your routine for kind of staying up to date on cyber threats?
Read the news, do the work. It's a big mix, because you're kind of, when you're in threat intel, you're looking at a bunch of different feeds from news sources or social media or vendor websites for vulnerabilities, patches and stuff like that. And then you have your own data sources that you can take a look at and get a lay of the land. So it's tons of different things. For the most immediate, most easy thing, it just keep an eye on different RSS feeds, all the different news sites and all of that.
We all love bleeping computers, right? As currently researchers, yeah. Hacker News, bleeping computer every morning.
My favorite feeds.
Yeah, I remember having Feedly set up, so I can read my favorite feeds every morning as my first job in security. And I still use Feedly here and there sometimes, so it's pretty helpful. So Julian, next questions from me. You probably like this one. So what's the recent threat actor campaign or malware campaign that you looked at that caught your attention, that you can talk about it publicly, and why?
So I was going to preface this by saying all my opinions are my own and nothing of my employers. But I'll keep it pretty, tame. We did a lot of work on a recent Akira campaign. where they were targeting the SonicWall SSL VPNs. Is there anything like specific you want to know about that, or?
Did you what you found the most interesting about Akira, their TTPs? Were they using any cool techniques or methods to move laterally or escalate their privileges? Fancy stuff.
To be honest, no. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary from normal ransomware, normal compromises. They were very efficient. I'll give them that. They were very quick. They'd get in, they kind of get in lay of the land really fast, get an understanding of where they were and what they needed, and then they would laterally move and then deploy ransomware. It usually took under 2 hours from what we saw, so it's relatively quick.
Yeah,
But it wasn't anything necessarily groundbreaking. It was more so just they're good at what they're doing, and they know how to do it fast.
I've noticed that Akira follow the same playbook all the time, right? When they get on the client's environments, they follow the same techniques, and it's usually pretty easy to guess that it's Akira, right? When they are in their environments. Okay,
I will say from the other side of things, I wish SonicWall made it easier to configure the authentication logs. Like as a VPN where it's like an entry point to a network, authentication is pretty important, and it's not obvious that it's not, one, enabled by default, and then two, there's levels of it, and just make it obvious for us, right? Their help guide obviously was released, but that shouldn't have needed to be released in a sense. It should have just been more straightforward, because I had to do a response to this, and I noticed, well, of course the client didn't have it enabled. We had to go through, we had to enable them on a dozen server firewalls, and it's well, great. We have this ability.
The thing we realized, the most prominent thing was just the amount of misconfigurations from SonicWall customers. It seems like at some point there was either a miscommunication or someone wasn't entirely sure, didn't read the manual when they were setting things up, maybe that there was either a gap in logging or the actual device was improperly set up, where it was more insecure than it needed to be, and that just resulted in a lot more compromises. For example, SonicWall kind of recommended, or their main recommendation was to upgrade to the latest version and then reset all your credentials, because that was their theory. That basically the threat actors found some vulnerability a year ago, got the credential somehow back then with that, although we don't entirely know how that vulnerability works, so that wasn't something we could speak to when we wrote our blog on it. And then they reused those in later attacks. So just I occasionally swapping up passwords, cycling through different secrets is good, just from security standpoint, because maybe something come back up, or especially after an exploitation campaign from a pretty nasty vulnerability can come back a year later. It might not be apparent right away. So that's kind of what we ended up seeing. But it's the SonicWall stuff entirely. It was a lot of misconfiguration. That's something. When we talked to SonicWall, they had a pretty similar idea. It was people just ended up misconfiguring things. And then logs in general for SonicWall didn't really give us as much as we wanted from them. So it was hard to pinpoint exactly what was going on. You guys, and probably it's especially you've worked on probably 20, 30 of these cases by now. And it's just there's just no information to work off of, and you kind of have to figure out where to go from there, which makes things difficult.
Yeah, we kind of give the clients the same remediation steps, right? Because we don't know exactly how they just get into this through the VPN. Yeah. So does ArcticWolf, or do you know if SonicWall helps the client to configure the settings, or this just depends on the client, they have to do that themselves?
I know from our perspective, if we like we have more of like a white glove service at Arctic so we'll kind of sit down with customers and work through different settings and configurations if they need help with it. It isn't always the case, so it's not, we're not going to go through every single device on a network if someone already says, we configured this, we think it's good enough. If we notice something as out of place, we'll obviously give recommendations. I know SonicWall, I think they were working with customers specifically to help them with their issues. I don't know the extent of that, so I can't really say anything to that point. But they're definitely all hands on deck, helping people out.
Cool.
So let's look at some of these Twitter questions. We'll do a couple of those because they're a bit interesting. We'll do a couple of yes or no's after that, and then we can go back to some of the Twitter questions. First person who wanted to know was CyberNo20. Simply asked, what is CTI? And then in brackets, why does no one seem to be able to answer this?
Yeah, I mean, that's always an interesting quick question or to ask. Like, what is CTI? It's essentially just information sharing at a very high level information sharing. It's a lot of taking different data sources, figuring out what's actually important to your customer, your client, or whoever, right, your audience, and then being able to translate that effectively. It's also, like if we find a new vulnerability or we find some new campaign, like who's our audience for that? How are we going to translate that information? Is it important enough for them to actually know about? Like things like that. It's just to relay important things to a variety of different people.
And I think, yeah, as like an academic answer, what I would even say is like, it's both a process and product, right? So when you look at the process of CTI, like you mentioned, that's collecting the data, evaluating it, who needs to see it, what enrichments can we do, and then analyzing the results and disseminating it. But then as the product, people forget, I think, is the other half where it's like, yes, it's a report, right? But intelligence has to be actionable, right? So it's like, if it's not actionable, then it's just information or something. So that's kind of how I would frame it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we do like public reporting and stuff, when we put out that the couple of SonicWall blogs, as an example, those specifically, we try to look for things that are actionable for the community, for the defenders. Something that an IT admin can take away and implement themselves. Maybe that's something beyond what the vendor actually recommends, that we can recommend as a security company with a security background. Like what customers can do. So maybe not tying your AD accounts to your VPN. So when your VPN inevitably gets hacked, that you're not essentially compromising your entire network. Stuff like that. It's always like trying to find those actionable items to recommend is a very tough point. But that's a lot of what CTI is.
That's a great explanation. Thank you, Julian. So there's a question from Serpent Sack here. He or she or they are asking about how do you go about designing a collection plan for tracking an emerging threat actor, which is how do you just hunt for something when you only have teeny clues, tiny. Sorry, my English is not great. Tiny clues, right? And without knowing much about the threat actor or the malware campaign.
That one's always a bit tricky. I don't know how much I can really talk to that one because that's, obviously a bit of trade secrets there.
Trade secrets, R2O. Uh-oh.
I don't think anyone in CTI would really want to give up too much info on that, but a lot of it is just, again, you take those little morsels of information and you try to find patterns and find relations to the different things. So, say like a new malware campaign pops up, we'll kind of work backwards from what we see and then, piece it all together. Maybe we're missing a part of the picture. If this is just like a general thing in security. If you're a SOC analyst or something, if you see a piece of malware, and see the execution of it on a device, you should always look backwards instead of forwards. Obviously, you're not kind of trying to figure out what the end result is. You want to kind of work backwards and piece it together. Those always give a lot of insight into how these things work, where they originate from, how they're being distributed, like all that type of stuff. And then you just build off of that. So if you see like, maybe they're using like stuff like ClickFix, using the Google tags or something as like distribution for like hosting for these sites, then you can kind of work through and create detections and analyze the network traffic to find how it's being distributed, and then maybe you can stop it before it gets executed, or you can find it earlier in the cycle, so you can block it from there. But it all really depends on what you're tracking, on who you're tracking, but it's a lot of just taking little bits of information and then building out from there.
Yeah, I find it exciting, you're right, like tracking back, right, and see, like try to pull apart the malware sample, right, or the technique they're using, like look at the HTML code, try to like check the URL scan, like any open source tools, right, and then apply that for detection purposes, and also use that information to hunt across all the other clients, right? So that's definitely very important. Thank you.
The fun detected work.
Well, and I think that segues into the great question next from Bushido token.
Bushido token. Say it right. I'm not letting it know until you say it right.
Bushido token, let's go. What questions do you have?
So the question, and this could just be like a discussion between all of us, is like, what's your opinion on what sources of raw data are the most useful for intelligence collection and production? And they give examples like forms, SOCMint or SOCMint, scan data, PDNS, NetFlow, etc. I guess I could just quickly start. I mean, obviously, like as we kind of just said, it depends on what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to take down infrastructure or something, the sources are going to be different than if you're trying to take down, cyber criminals in person. But I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this.
Never had to take a cyber criminal in person yet, although I was excited to. Just come and put handcuffs on someone. But yeah, Julian, you're first.
Yeah, it's just off what Ed said. Like, it's exactly that. It really depends on what you're trying to get out of it. Like most of my year at Arctic Wolf has been focused on zero-day vulnerabilities, or like vulnerability campaigns. Those specifically is a lot of looking at logs of devices, like that kind of stuff, and then NetFlow, and like whatever, basically anything network related or device log related. That seems to be the most important for those kind of campaigns. But then it can change from depending on like what you're doing. Like, it's all very useful. It has its different. It depends on what you do, and then it gets ranked based on specifically what you're doing. So I mentioned social media intelligence. Like stuff like that is important when you're kind of tracking threat actors as well. Like, that's always helpful, because people on social media tend to post too much about what they know, and who they know, and all these different types of things. So you can get kind of an idea if you want to track different like threat actors or whoever else on social media, or maybe like a new campaign that comes up. So there's different things, and it really depends too on the quality of the telemetry data, or like of the data itself. Because if you're on social media and there's nothing good, then why use social media intelligence, right? Like, if there's nothing juicy, basically, where's the juicy info? And then go there and use that.
And I think too, one of the funny things is like the cyber forms too, right? Like, these marketing campaigns these threat actors put out for their newest stealer or their newest remote admin Trojan. It's like, that is the list of capabilities, right? So like, when we find a sample, we could go back to their marketing ad, and it's like, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? They're burning the whole list there. We know exactly what it's capable of.
I would say that whenever there's new like stealer tool, like backdoor tool they post in exploit forums, right? You see those screenshots and they don't hide things sometimes, right? And then you use that information to pivot on VirusTotal, and like I can't count like how many times I've managed to like find their payloads on VirusTotal based on the screenshots they have, right? Like all the logs, like their namings, specific conventions they're using.
You want to share that? Yeah, people are really bad at operational security. It's that's always a great thing with when you're working in intelligence. It's just a lack of operational security from different people, and maybe they share too much, like Anna said, where you can start pivoting to different things. And that goes off of the question earlier as well, from how do you track new campaigns and new threat actors and new malware and stuff like that. It's just you kind of go off of those things. You take something that you have and you build off it. Maybe it's pivoting through VirusTotal, maybe it's going through social media. It depends.
Exactly. And threat actors tend to be chronically online, right? Twitter, Telegram, or Discord. It's so like easy to track them. And I have the whole opinion about the FBI disruptions, like the whole like Luma, Radamantis, right? Speaking of Telegram, like tracking threat actors there, like when they disrupt an operation, right? They'll usually like hijack Telegram channels and say, "Hey, we exposed you, we took you down," and it kind of makes the threat actors just go more into the shades, right? So now they operate in talks, like other like private platforms that we cannot get a hold of, right? Usually before we can easily like find them on Telegram and like their handles and pivot from there, try to like expose their identity through like different Telegram bots. And now they're just so secretive, right? Because they are more cautious. And it's kind of like I have like a different opinions about the disruptions, because like Luma is still like well and going, and I'm pretty sure that Radamantis is going to be like still around. And yeah, it's just I don't know, like it makes the threat actors kind of like be more like sneaky, I guess, right? For like makes our job harder. I mean, to track them.
From what I know from like law enforcement, the law enforcement side is that they'll try to hold out as long as they can before taking these things down. Sometimes there is situations where they have no other choice. Maybe some account got burned or whatever, someone got onto them, where they're like, either we take them down now temporarily, or we essentially let it slide for however long and let more people get compromised based on this different malware. It's always interesting too, because it's not an easy feat. I don't think they get enough credit, but they also do make mistakes from the law enforcement side. Is once you take these things down, another one pops up, like you said. Like maybe Luma's the most popular for a while, it gets taken down, something else pops up as the different stealer. It's just going to keep happening. It's like, what's the base of the actual issue? Or like, are we actually solving an issue, or are we just kind of putting a band-aid over it temporarily for like a week or less, and then having to do months of research again to kind of catch back up where we were before? So like, what's really the benefit of it, and what's really like, how can we actually stop this from occurring?
I think that's a great segue for OSINT Dojo's question, which is, what is everyone's thoughts on attribution, sourcing methods, and confidence levels? Anna, maybe you want to start with this one?
Sure. You cannot do me like off guard, catch me off guard on this one.
That's all. Let's it, right? Let's.
But we have Julian as our person who is on stream for
Volunteered for this. You didn't volunteer to be in.
What was the question again?
What are your thoughts on attribution, sources, methods, and confidence levels?
So I want to say there's a lot of bias there too, right? Like who is making the claims, the attribution? Are those like independent researchers, right? Or vendors trying to sell their products, or government with their political motivations? It's like the whole can of worms to dig. And Julian, you look so serious right now.
Assuming they're in college.
I'm listening. I want to hear this.
And
I want to hear your thoughts on this.
and sometimes like even I don't have enough information handy, right? And I usually make attribution, which is not the right way, solely based on the malware analysis, right? Because like you analyze the sample and you see like other threat actors like use the same malware and it's like, oh, this is like APT41. What if APT41 shares the samples with another threat actor, right? So it's but when you don't have enough information on your hands, right? And when you cannot like figure out the infrastructure overlapping, you usually would use the confidence language there, right? That's what I would do. Like, I assess with low confidence that this is like Russia threat actors or whoever. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on it.
Yeah, I think attribution is always very finicky, and that's why you have so many different names for so many different groups of people and threat actors and all this kind of stuff. Every company, every person, they have what they see and what they think is a specific person. They'll kind of track that as what, whatever they call it. But you have Microsoft with their like cotton candy this crap, whatever. But that's just because they noticed a group having a very specific set of capabilities. They track those patterns over time, and then they just come up with a name for it. So like attribution is always really funky, especially when you're using other people's naming or other people's attributions for something you find. It's a very slippery slope of attribution sucks, basically.
I like
Confidence in attribution is always really, really weird.
I like how you said about the namings, right? So this is what like people would usually do. They come up with new names if they cannot attribute it to a specific threat actors, right? Which is hilarious. And that's how we end up with like 300 like threat actors names, like Cotton Candy, Vanilla Tempest, and all.
Yeah, that's always a really weird thing, because you're like, from the outside you look at it and you're like, wow, this is really stupid. Why wouldn't they just use the same name for everything? But then when you like work in these orgs and you work alongside different researchers and different companies that actually attribute these things, it becomes a thing of like, do we trust Microsoft 100%, and do we know what we're seeing is exactly the same thing as they're seeing? Maybe we see 90% of what they're seeing and that they posted in like an article or whatever about that group, but then there's another like 10% that we can't really put together. Like, is this actually them? Is this something new? Is this, so it becomes a thing of, we can't confidently say 100% that it is that group, it is that attribution, and we're going to stick with that. So you kind of have to come up with your own names at that point, and then you can give credit to these other orgs that have these names and be like, yeah, I'm Microsoft attributed this activity to this group, though we're have it as this, so maybe there's overlap, we don't know, like that's kind of the tricky part with attribution. If anyone, like, you look from the outside too, and there's just so much marketing around that, because those get headlines, but it's not an easy thing. Attribution is not an easy thing, and it should not be taken lightly by any means. So very loaded question. Yeah.
Exactly, yes. Attribution is pretty sensitive topic because some people are sensitive out there in the community who would get back to you and say, no, you did it wrong. You're not the researcher. Go back and to school and yeah.
Yeah, you've had experience with that, Anna, right?
Yeah, and I think another thing that we should add too about confidence levels, I think a lot of people don't take into consideration, is sometimes it seems a little silly given a confidence level when you're really not that sure. But one thing I found super helpful myself was, after say 6 months, a year, take a look at your confidence levels, take a look at what new data came out in the public with the overlapping stuff we just talked about, and see how accurate you were. If you've been saying it's Russia for the last 6 months and you just have a 0% accuracy chance, maybe stop attributing that, right? And kind of use the confidence levels to kind of hone in your own skill set too. And I think that's often like, underutilized, but
Eddie, were you the one making the confidence level confidence page at Eastern Tower? I think I saw you doing there. It's like,
I always push for confidence levels, man. It's a great thing to
I remember
Just
seeing
you did the definitions of that stuff.
Yeah, he did
over-
that. I was like, oh, that's Eddie. Okay.
Well, actually, I mapped them to the standard. I believe I used the Canadian once, but FBI has standard as well, names and everything, right? So,
Canadian.
so let's look at the next question. Edav Perez asked, "What frameworks are actually the best for mapping incidents? MITRE ATT&CK, cyber kill chain, etc." I think it depends who your audience is. I mean, I'm a big fan of MITRE ATT&CK. I'm a big fan of the cyber kill chain. I don't think you have to pick one, but let's.
Yeah, that really, it honestly just depends on who your audience is and like how you track things. They all have their benefits. They all have their downsides. You can kind of like MITRE is specific. It's a lot of in like executive reporting, and just public reporting. It's easy for people to digest that one. You have the cyber kill chain all of them are very useful. Cyber kill chain is probably like the most intuitive one from like if you come out of school or you have a bit of experience. It's easy to, like I said, going back if you have like a malware that executes in a host environment, go back and see how it like got into the actual onto the actual network and figure out where you need to be or where you can block that from happening in the future, stuff like that. And then you have the diamond model. You have the what is it, pyramid of pain, whatever it's called, and the other one that's like a whole bunch of different ones. Yeah, it really just depends on your audience.
Well, and like just to that point too, it's like I can give you a cyber kill chain and tell you that the technique is account manipulation, but if it's a detection engineer, I could tell them very specifically we saw 1098 or something, write a detection specifically for that, right? Whereas an executive doesn't care about those level of details. So just telling them there was persistence is probably good enough. Again, changes on who you're sending it to, but
I've seen a lot of reportings out there who use like a bunch of like MITRE ATT&CK table, right? And I barely see like blocks on like kill chain, cyber kill chain.
Yeah, this thing's good. But yeah, MITRE, people love MITRE. That's every time I've ever like had to write a report, it's always people love MITRE. Make sure you can incorporate MITRE. It's the easiest for them to understand. I guess it's the most mainstream one for people to kind of digest.
Eddie, you should make a Claude or like a MCP agent to do like a MITRE ATT&CK table next time.
no, MITRE has a project for that actually. I think
Oh, really?
the TRAM project, something similar to that.
Just let AI do it.
Yeah, they don't use Claude. They use ChatGPT, I believe, but
Oh.
it worked fairly. Is it time to ask some silly questions instead of all the serious
Favorite ones. Hell yeah.
All right, let's there's a bunch of yes or no questions I'll ask, and then Anna, do you want to ask some of the fun ones?
The dumb ones, the fun ones.
Yeah.
So sure.
So Flip Zero with an H in there somewhere asked, do you like tea or coffee better?
That depends. If I'm working on like a report last minute, coffee. If I'm just relaxing, tea.
All right. VX Underground asked, do you like cats?
Yes. Love cats.
Malware Bites asked, did you bite malware?
Say it raw. Say you like it raw. No seasoning.
Okay. Next question. I'm not answering that one. No. Malware Bites, what are you doing? Who's running your account? He's asking that.
Uber Arc Angel asked, are all your devices at home as analog as possible?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh,
I don't like technology.
so do you have a GPS in your car or satellite in your car?
No.
Okay, well, Uber Archangel also asked, do you know how to disable it? So there you go. You just don't own a car like that.
Julian, are you a part of the Ugu underground?
The what?
The Ugu underground.
The hell is that?
Okay, Julian is not on Twitter for the context here. Sorry.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. That was I'm not a part of Twitter.
But we love Yuki. We love Yuki. Just saying. Out of context. So out of context, just say yes.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, there's that. Do you have another one of those fun questions to ask? I think I was just trying to find it in the list here. I didn't know that was on the list. So prepared today.
So, can you tell me a joke with a straight face? Seriously.
I don't know any jokes.
I have one.
Okay,
Let's hear it.
let's hear it.
Why did their threat intelligence analyst break up with their partner? Wrong
What?
answers only.
Attribution failure.
I don't know. Let's hear it.
Well, it's because they kept pivoting to relationships, other relationships, and flagging every behavior as suspicious. Where are the laughs? Seriously? It was a fun. Okay, nerds. Never mind. We should cut this off. The video. Just kidding. Just
Do you have a favorite bourbon?
No. What was the just like?
That was Decrypted Tech, by the way. Who asked that?
He's a bourbon guy, like fan.
I think the last time I had bourbon was like bullet bourbon or something. That was pretty good. Not too heavy into bourbon, but that was good.
Fair enough. And the joke one, by the way, was MedSci Wyber, missing Cyber, missing the C. Just so we can make sure we get everybody's names here.
I just want a full episode of you trying to pronounce people's Twitter handles.
Yeah, I mean,
We got
What was the next one?
Bushido got
Bushido.
Bushido.
prosciutto.
He got
Prosciutto.
earlier.
Prosciutto. So, well, this is the first time I'm seeing this list, man.
Julian, you should somehow Eddie pronounce obfuscation. Eddie say obfuscation.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite word, obfuscation.
No, say it fast.
Obfuscation.
Obfuscation.
Obfuscation. Obfuscation.
Honestly, that's yeah.
I've heard it works. All right, it's your turn now. Take some of these questions.
Oh.
Where are we at?
I was wondering, Julian, I wanted to ask you that a long time ago, knowing how your your technical level, like your skills. Can you hack my friend's Facebook account by chance? That question is from VXDB.
No.
No?
Yes.
Okay.
Come on. I only look at bleeping computer articles. I don't know anything.
As a side note here, every threat intelligence analyst looks like a bleeping computer every morning. So, just saying.
I have no clue how long this video has been, but let's skip down a few. What is your favorite thing about Windows? By Mine Diesel.
Not using it. I can't stand Windows, especially what is it, Windows 11 now. It's terrible.
Yeah, they make you they force you update like every time. Like, would you like to stay in Windows 10 because it's gonna go out of whatever maintenance or window, whatever they have. I was like, nope, I'm staying with my Windows 10. Screw you guys.
Oh my god. This is a little bit separate, but I don't know if anyone's worked on Patch Tuesday stuff. Just seeing Microsoft's definition of a 0 day, it just kills me as well. It's crazy what
I haven't been on those Patch Tuesday meetings since I left ECTR, to be honest.
Oh yeah, the new Centaur Patch Tuesdays.
We had meetings every Tuesday on Patch Tuesday meetings. And I would fall asleep randomly. Yes. Have to.
Yeah, I don't know why you joined those calls. You would always just never talk after like
That was
30 seconds.
Yeah, that was my entire morning, guys. So I'm so glad to find out you were attentive. I'm glad to hear my 4 hours of Patch Tuesday analysis was worth it to my colleagues who support me so dearly.
You did great.
You
You did such a good job. None of us needed to do anything.
Exactly. Exactly. It just did all the job for us.
InfoSec Timmy asked, how many unsafe tabs do you have open in Notepad++?
Ooh, I have so many tabs open. I could show.
Count.
Anything less than
Yeah.
300 or rookie numbers.
Where can you count the tabs?
How many tabs you guys, after doing Anna and Ed, you guys specifically have done quite a bit of research in your time. How many tabs do you end up after doing like a project or like a research, like anything related to that for in your web browser?
Oh, I mean, hundreds. I started using the browser group things, and it's been like
that's
a
smart.
changer. Yeah, so you can start adding them into the groups now, and then you can like name them. And so when you open it up and forget, there's like 75 tabs in there alone. Yeah,
I have like
easier.
I use like mostly everything with Notepad++, to be honest, to look through freaking logs, and it's like, yeah, it's a lot in there. It's like probably like 200 tabs open right now on Notepad++.
Look, there's a plugin idea right there. Let's make a high score plugin, and we'll just have it like at the end of the day, it submits how many tabs you have open as a number, and we'll see how many Intel analysts can beat.
Can you
300.
see how many tabs you have? Oh my god! No, I actually lied. I have 40 tabs open on Notepad++. That's about it. If it counts as a win.
I've got 7 right now. I had to check. I got some rookie numbers apparently.
Do you have a cybersecurity oriented K-pop band? Your favorite one? Do you have a K-pop band? You listen to K-pop music?
I don't bite for
I feel like I'm gonna get shot if I don't answer it.
Get shot if you don't. Yeah. There's so many. Yeah, that's true. There's so many K-pop fans out there.
I've heard
They're being-
Stray Kids, I think they're called.
Ooh,
Stray Kids.
never heard of them.
Apparently okay. Or good.
Stray-
They're amazing. They're the greatest. Destroyed by Twitter after saying that.
Twitter. That's why you don't have a Twitter account, Julian. Basically, that's why we don't even like disclose Julian's last name, because he doesn't want to be destroyed.
I think my name's
Your name's
been on
allowed.
the internet a couple times.
So Lucy is Zombie asked, this is a more serious question. Why did you take the easy way out? Could you not just write detections?
I'm guessing they're a detection engineer.
Why did you pick the easy ones? Yeah, why threat intelligence? That's the easiest.
Yeah, why CTI is always really easy, guys. No, that CTI is a lot of writing detections. It's finding gaps in wherever you can. Like if we see something that, you know, obviously we're not seeing within customer environments yet, we'll, you know, preemptively write detections for it. We'll come up with as many as we possibly can, to just be as ready as possible in case we end up seeing this kind of stuff. So yeah, no, it is a lot of detection writing. I wish it wasn't. It's, you know, detections are always difficult to fine tune, make sure they actually work, and you're not annihilating your instances. But yeah, I wouldn't say CTI is necessarily that easy. It's a lot more relaxed than some like analyst roles and all that kind of stuff. Like I started off in a SOC. That was a bit more stressful in the sense that you have like SLAs and all that kind of stuff. CTI is, especially the research side of it, it's more relaxed, kind of do things at your own pace. Obviously, if big bad things happen, you know, like Log4j and all that kind of stuff, it's all hands on deck, and then you have to really try to find as much as you can and build detections as fast as possible for those.
Yeah, I would say that threat intelligence is not an easy role, right? Because you have to wear different hats, right? You have to be sometimes a reverser. You have to make the attribution right, so not to be called out by other people, right? It's like putting everything into like one like picture, like collecting all the puzzle pieces can be quite tricky, right? Because you have to also like map the infrastructure, connecting everything together. It's like you have like a detective mindset there, right? It's not an easy role. So just to say, compared to like
I think
roles out there.
there's a misconception that like a lot of people will just straight up point fingers to different roles in cybersecurity. I mean, this happens in like any industry. Whatever they're not working in is the easiest role, and the stuff that they're working is the hardest. I respect anyone that works in cyber. Great on you. It's a very tough industry. It's a big mental toll to it because there's a lot of new learning aspects, and you have to keep up with it, and you have to be interested in what you do. So, I don't throw shade to any other roles or departments. I think everyone does a great job, and they're trying their best to understand what we're looking at and how to protect people from whatever new stuff comes up. So
I have one question that I want to ask here, but I completely lost it somewhere. So
I think we're looking for the same question. There was a question somewhere that I don't know who asked it. We'll have to put it on screen anyway, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It was basically, what is some of your biggest success in your career?
Exactly.
And
we're
then
looking
what is
for
some of your, what is your biggest failure or most recent failure that you learned a lesson from? While you think about that one a second.
tough one.
So I'll give an example just because I had two in mind here. One of the coolest things that I did as a success was that when Log4j did come out, I was able to find it 2 days before all the stuff hit the news. I had no clue what I was looking at. There was nothing on the internet. Wrote my own blog for it. It is actually distributing some Go-based malware for the instances we saw. And that was a pretty big win. Especially after, not realizing initially how bad it was and then seeing how bad it was for the next year. Definitely kind of showed me that like, hey, threat hunting has some value. Right. And it definitely promoted the role I was in at the time. Threat hunting wasn't formalized. And after putting that blog out, I kind of got some cycles every week now to justify doing the work I did. So that was really cool. Failure. Yeah, I recently opened a reg file thinking it would open in regedit to view it and totally wiped my whole machine. That was all. I always open things in like Notepad++ first or in a safe environment. I had to call my friend at like midnight and thankfully he was awake because I didn't have a keyboard to actually get into BIOS either because I was all Bluetooth. So I had to drive to someone's house, get a wired keyboard.
that question
Sit
for
back.
Curtis, by the way, Kurt Wilson.
Yeah, to then fix my thing with my whole Windows setup because it remapped my drives and I wasn't able to boot. And so that was right in the midst of a ransomware incident too. That reg file was from a ransomware incident. So it was like, that was crazy. Definitely be more careful with the files you open.
I feel like that's like the thing in cybersecurity. Everyone makes one mistake like that at least. I think, Anna, I remember you said that you ransomed your computer at one point.
He
But
answered that for me. I did ransomware my drive with Logbit, yes, because I double click on the shit. So, this is name your executables, please. I did not rename that one for some reason. The success for me was that you all remember like Spence Hutchinson, so we work on the same team, and I was able to go and discover the identities behind the bad lore and fake bad, and we tracked their campaigns, put the whole like report it together and presented it on the RSA. So that was pretty good. It was very interesting because I went to like the exploit forums and like try to like think like fake bad loader, right? Like they're like kind of like the same, and then you look at the forum threads and it's like, oh my god, I almost feel my Fanta, and you're like, oh, they are actually like there are two different threat actors, but they are doing like similar products, like promoting similar products, and that's how we're able to like differentiate between fake bad and the actual like bad loader. So that was interesting. Yeah. What about you, Julian?
for myself, I think a lot of like the major successes and failures have come to me this year specifically. To give context, I started with Arctic Wolf this year, or I guess last year in October, so I've been there for about a year. But we've had a bunch of success identifying new zero-day threat campaigns, where ransomware actors will find some new zero-day, or so someone will sell it to them or whatever. And they'll start targeting stuff like Fortinet devices, things like Clio MFT devices, And then the last one was SonicWall, obviously. So those have been very successful in a way that we've been able to kind of before other security orgs or just other individuals just identify these things through just the large amount of telemetry that we have, and then be able to action them and provide actions for people to defend themselves against it, and then discuss that with like different vendors and help them fix what they need to fix. Um, so that's been a very pretty good success. At the same time, it's been a double-edged sword. So at the same time, it's been a bit of a failure in a way that we've learned to be more careful on wording. I think specifically with the SonicWall one, when we first put out a blog and we said it was a high possibility of a 0-day, the news kind of ran with that, and in a way that we didn't necessarily want them to. They took it out of context, where we provided a couple different ideas and what we thought it might be, and kind of landed on the opinion that it's more towards a 0-day, based on what we've seen before over the last year and a lot of the direction that threat actors have been going. But just that media jumping to conclusions ends up hurting us in a way of like, yeah, SonicWall comes out and says maybe it's not a 0-day, and we found it's probably this other vulnerability. Like, it's obviously people would say that's not too bad of a failure. We take that very close to heart, though. We want to make sure that the information that we're providing to everyone is as accurate as possible and is not misleading whatsoever. So that kind of stuck with me a bit. And that's something I'm trying to keep an eye on when I'm putting out new research or new reports.
Yeah, and I guess when you're an advisory or an intelligence role, right, your words do have a lot of power. So we got to pick them very carefully, right? Because people rely on them, and again, the media could go both ways. Sometimes it's great to have that coverage. Sometimes it's not so great. So fair enough.
Yeah, like the thing that we always look for too is the media coverage is kind of the last thing in our head of like, we want to make sure that people have detections, IOCs, all that stuff that they can actually action, and information on like what's going on. And then if it gets picked up by the news, great. It's always a nice thing. But in some instances, the news tends to pick up a couple things for their headlines. I think that one specifically, I saw a couple instances where they just straight up said, "Yep, SonicWall is 0-day it," and we're like, "That's not what we said." We said that there's a possibility, but they kind of wanted to get their attention as well, like the different outlets. So I think what we said was there was like a new Akira ransomware campaign happening or something like that. Yeah, definitely words have a lot of weight to them when you're in CTI, because I guess before, remember, information brokers essentially. So gotta make sure what we say is right.
There's two questions here about MDR companies. I'll just read them, and then I'll probably just answer them, because I mean, you two could answer them if you want, but you guys work for MDR companies, so I don't know if you'll want to answer them or not. But AJ World asks, because it's an MDR company, ask if they consider the quality of the data or their sources in their research. Being a researcher in particular to the role in the story, they tend to have environments for detection that won't be like the customers they support. That first question, I mean, I think, of course, we consider, it's just as a researcher in general, of course, people consider the quality of the data, right? There's always going to be gaps. There's always going to be assumptions made here. And then MDRs obviously provide a general service to a lot of different people. So obviously, some reports will be more useful for some customers. Some reports will be more useful to other customers. I mean, and there's going to be a gap there. I don't think there's really much more needs to be said about that. Feel free to jump in, or else I'll just go to the next question about MDRs. Blacken Labs, curious how they make a case to choose MDR over building in-house capabilities. How many companies rely solely on MDR as their only team? Again, as an independent here, there's plenty of reasons to choose an MDR over building in-house. I mean, building in-house is a fairly mature function of a business. It's incredibly expensive. MDRs, although not perfect in many ways, do offer a good way to get started. And then as to how many companies rely on MDR solely as their security team, I mean, I would guess a lot. It's a good way to outsource it in the beginning before realizing if you need it or not, right? Businesses aren't designed to be secure, but designed to generate revenue. Security is like a cost center. So again, it's super dependent, right? I mean, these two aren't going to be able to tell you how to make that decision. I don't think as researchers, not salespeople. Anything I missed, guys?
Yeah, I think you got it on, like, you got it down. It's always like weird because getting an MDR over just like starting in-house things, again, the very costly side of things. Like if you're just hiring an MDR company, you're mostly just going to be a company that doesn't want to put the investment in to make your own security team. Like it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to get security personnel, train them up, make sure they have the right tools, make sure everything's like set up and all that. Or you could just, a couple $100,000, hire an MDR company and have them just run the whole thing for you. You can do it that way. Or you can just have MDR companies kind of work alongside other teams. So if you have like an IT team that just needs help with security or something like that, then that's where the MDRs kind of step in. And then one other thing you get is you get the other benefits of a security org. So like an MDR you can pay for, you have your security products, you have the analysts looking at things, but then you have people like us that do the extra research and try to find whatever cutting edge things are happening to try and protect you. So that's the benefit that's not really weighed into the cost as much, but it, like most of the time, but it is there. If you have the capability of setting up in-house, then power to you. It's very difficult and very expensive. So
Yeah, I want to say the 24/7 capability, right, for an analyst being around, it's like pretty like a big win for MDRs. And also, the downside is that they probably won't be able to understand like your internal like infrastructure as well as the people you hire and train them, right? So that can be a downside for that. And also like MDR always like bring their own tools, right? They have like the threat feeds, like the cool threat intelligence tools that they can play with. And you like the companies who doesn't have MDR, they have to go out there and buy like other tools like threat intel tools for like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's very costly, I would say. So
And I think this question comes up a lot too. And like sometimes we forget in cyber that like, I mean, it's the same question with legal or the same question with accounting. Like, why would you hire an external accounting firm to do your stuff? Just hire an intern like accounting team or an intern legal team. I mean, there's obviously benefits. These guys do thousands of cases a year versus your two. They're all like, they're going to do it well, you would hope. But those are also good points with the 24/7 stuff too, right?
yeah, I like your
For-
point, Ed, that you said earlier too. It's like businesses aren't made to be secure; they're made to make profit. This is always like security is usually the last thing that people think about. We're important in a way that you have a lock on your door that people aren't breaking in and stealing your stuff. But it's not the thing that people really necessarily care about. So if there's a cheaper option and easier option, like an availability option, then MDRs are kind of just there to kind of fill that gap, which is why they've been as successful as they've been.
Yeah. Even speed to compliance and stuff like that, right? Like MDRs could immediately unlock new revenue streams because all of a sudden you could hit those compliance goals like PCI or ISO 2701 or, they get you closer to the goalpost. I have no clue how long this is going to get in. I don't know. Is there any questions in this list you want to ask next?
There's an
Serious question.
Uber. Oh, there's like a fun one though. The
Okay, we can do the fun ones again, yeah.
Uber Archangel. When was the last time you rickrolled someone? Have you ever rickrolled someone? When was the last time you rickrolled someone? No.
It's 2008.
Yeah, I remember last time I rickrolled someone when I was like my first job. I was like doing phishing campaigns and people click on links and just like, like redirect them to rickrolls. It's like you've been rickrolled.
You did it as your security awareness email?
Yeah, secure awareness rule.
That's amazing.
Anyways, seen that times where malware or something, or like some hosting site redirects to a Rickroll just to mess with us.
Yeah.
These are always fun.
Yep. Screw you, researchers.
So we got 2 more yes or no fun questions. Iced Paw asked, can you just delete ransomware with Windows debug mode?
Oh,
Um,
I think they watch a lot of TikTok videos. Let's say. But yeah, it's you cannot delete ransomware in the safe mode, right? I guess that's what they're asking. Like it might prevent ransomware from running, but it won't delete the active encryption, I think. And we
Wait, hold on. You can maybe we're looking too far into this question. You can delete the executable file that hasn't been you're in yet. You can delete that.
I know that some ransomware like Avast Locker, right? They had booted their system, like the infected systems, into safe mode with the networking enabled, because in the safe mode, like some of the tools are disabled, right? Security tools, if not most of them. So the ransomware can run, encryption freely with the security tools disabled.
This might be a dumb question. Is debug mode different than safe mode?
You answer that question.
I just Googled, so they are different. I just looked it up. They are 2 distinct modes for troubleshooting diagnostics. Okay, that's what I thought. Because you guys are answering with safe mode here, but
Because I was thinking the safe mode, yeah. There's a debug mode. Interesting.
yeah, it allows. Well, what I was thinking with debug mode. Okay, this was correct. Is it's like kernel development setup, right? So Windows developers, Windows drivers, and stuff like that.
How many people do that in safe mode? I mean, safe debug mode.
But no, I don't think that was adequate to get rid of ransomware.
Yeah, like what's the? Is like what? That's a weird question because like what are you trying to delete? Because once ransomware runs, it just encrypts things and it's there. It's not an active running piece of like malware in the background. It's not like an info stealer or backdoor or something like that, right? It just straight up encrypts everything on your drive.
I mean, when Lockbit
So,
was trying to, when
like,
Lockbit was,
is there
sorry.
is there ideas like if they executed it and it hasn't finished running that you maybe like mash the power button or rip out the port to your computer?
So that's what it
Start
did.
in debug mode.
That's what I did with Lockbit, right? I just like turn off my freaking computer off. You know, I was like, it only encrypted like probably like 4 or 5 files. It didn't have time to encrypt the whole thing. So just like in the matter of how fast you pull that plug out.
Yeah, it's the joke of there's a cyber attack, just rip out the power cable. It really works in some instances.
So Rain Coaster asked, and I have no clue what I'm asking you here. So Twitter's probably gonna kill me too next. Is Wuffy dead?
Who's Wuffy? What's Wuffy?
Oh, isn't this like a something?
Oh. Sounds like a wolfie.
I mean, I'm trying to read it here. There's definitely no L in there, so I did not mispronounce that.
Yes, Twitter community, please. If you watch, or YouTube community, please. If you watch this video, you need to give me an answer. What is debug mode, and if you can delete ransomware, please. Thank you. Because I thought it was a freaking safe mode, but it's apparently not.
Yeah, I've had to run it in debug mode for some kernel stuff way back in the day, but it's been a while since I've been using it. I'm a full-time Mac user.
I already run debug mode like
Linux and Mac,
yeah.
so I don't have to be afraid of double-clicking ransomware. Anna,
Are you the person who doesn't believe that Mac have malware? Oh my god.
Yeah, Macs are secure. They can't be.
Do you,
yeah, oh yeah, no.
you don't believe that Mac has malware?
Yeah, there's zero Mac malware, guys. There's literally none. I've never heard of it. It doesn't exist.
Someone recently told me that Mac doesn't have any malware. Like it cannot.
Is that someone that doesn't work Was that someone that doesn't work in cybersecurity or is on the internet at all?
You would be surprised who that is, because it's actually like one of the people from the like threat actors cybercrime side. It's like, so like mostly like all like threat actors like are using Mac because they don't think probably that Mac can have like malware in it. I don't know. I haven't
It's
seen
less like
ransomware
most of
from
most of the ransomware we end up dealing with is built for Windows, is built for like
yeah.
x86 architecture, so it's less likely to affect you if you're running Linux or Mac. Obviously, there is so many. The Linux and Mac malware is like always such a pain to look through because it's like just a mess. Every time I've dealt with it, it's just a mess. But it definitely exists. No.
If it exists out there, like
secure.
Linux malware, just stay out of it. Stay away from it because it's a mess.
Linux file.
Yeah, whoever who writes Linux malware is very autistic.
Yeah. They always cause messes though.
Have you read the book Hacking the Art of Exploitation?
I do.
You have an opinion on it?
I do have it in the back. But I haven't.
I have not read it, so no.
Yeah, that was by SecHub 93028. That question's done. Have you or can you implement backwards memcopy and x86 assembly as simple as possible? By Wagner High.
We should skip some of those questions that are mega technical and.
Oh, yeah, this is just yes or no. No.
Sorry, Wagner. I answer that privately somehow, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the last question that's not a troll question here, by Decrypted Tech again. How do you determine true multi-source intel? What do you think, and how do you utilize human intelligence sources? I don't think any of us utilize human intel at cyber level, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean, technically you do. So human intel is like the just trading information across like different, like word of mouth and everything, right? So a lot of cybersecurity companies, I mean, it might not be, maybe I'm like spilling the beans here, but I think everyone kind of knows already. It's they do share information with other cybersecurity orgs and other organizations and government agencies and stuff like that. So there is a lot of like human intelligence on that side where you're kind of word of mouth, like you hear things and maybe from there you can pivot to something else based on that information, and you start looking in places that you weren't looking before, or build detections. I mean, that's less likely because obviously you want information for those usually. But like there is, human intelligence sources, so is helpful.
I guess to some extent, yeah, that's just sharing news on Twitter.
I mean, there are like out there that some really private groups out there, right? There's some like very private groups out there that share the intel sources, like whatever they've seen, Tilpy, Brad, right? Information. So it's very helpful to have that source available.
And then I'm not so sure about this part of the question. How do you determine true multiple source intel? Not sure completely.
If they're like
from multiple sources intel.
guess-
So if you like hear a couple people saying the same thing, maybe.
That was mine. Yeah.
I mean, like that's always you can take people's words. Like getting intel sources is always funky because you shouldn't just trust outright any intel source, even yourself as an intel source. You shouldn't 100% trust anything. But you do have to kind of like have a bit of trust in there. So when you have multi-source intel, when you have like multiple people telling you the same thing, or you have like, you saw something on Twitter and then someone messaged you and they have other information regarding it, that kind of becomes your obligation to do the research, to do the intelligence side of things, of investigating it. So, if it's some new threat campaign or vulnerability or whatever, then you're going to start going through and querying different logs and all that fun stuff to try and find what you need to prove either that they're wrong or that they're right, or that nothing really adds up. Like, or if you need to maybe ask more questions, if it's a person or if it's like someone on Twitter or whatever. That all really depends on what information you're given.
We got a new question from
Oh,
The-
going live now, huh?
the Red Wall. Actually, no, 5 hours ago. No, it's not. It was 5 hours ago. Name 3 threat actors.
Red actors?
Yeah, name 3
Julian,
random
Anna.
and Eddie.
Yeah.
Right.
Just Anna 3 times. Anna, Russian Panda, Raccoon.
Raccoon is my secret name that only Julian knows about. Thanks for exposing me.
That's everything. That's all the questions, including the newest ones from Twitter. I think this was an
If
incredibly
we miss any of the questions,
great conversation.
we apologize because I think we probably missed some of them. So we apologize in advance. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the little interview with Julian. And I just want to ask him a last question. And he's going to get really upset at me. But I'll still go for it. Can you howl?
No.
Okay, that's it. Bye, guys.
No.
What an
Thanks for watching the video. Julian from Arctic himself. So hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, if you have anybody on mind for us to interview next, please DM us a message or you can drop a comment below. So it would be really interesting. Yeah, I guess that's a final goodbye. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.